Now, I consider myself to be someone with good intuition, someone who's a good judge of character, and someone who can easily identify quality at the first glimpse of something, especially when that something happens to be a video game. Today, I'm here to tell you that these statements couldn't be further from the truth. After watching the masterpiece that was RGG's first Yakuza 8 gameplay trailer last year, for some reason my brain automatically assumed that, yep, this game is going to be a 10 out of 10 masterpiece, it's going to be the best Yakuza game to date, no questions about it, and it's going to be the only Yakuza game I'll place in the S plus tier on my infamously shitty ass Yakuza tier list. Which was very well received, by the way. Everything about it just looked perfect. A Yakuza game featuring the return of Kiryu as a protagonist alongside Ichiban, and considering how Yakuza 6 ended, we all know what a big deal this was. A Yakuza game featuring Hawaii for the first time, which looked incredible, and was the first non-Japanese locale in the series, giving it that fresh new feel. A Yakuza game with a turn-based battle system, which is probably more polished than the previous game's broken-ass system. Just look at all these wacky enemies we get to fight. We get to fight a big-ass shark. Look at these creepy clown dudes towering over us. Look at all these new wacky minigames they're showing off. Everything about this trailer screams this is going to be the most fun you're ever going to have in your life. And yet, that also couldn't be further from the truth. But sometimes I over-exaggerate when I make statements like that. Just to give them an extra oomph for the sake of entertainment. So let me put it into perspective like this. Yakuza 8, or Like a Dragon Infinite 12, whatever you'd like to call it, is by no means a bad game. Nowhere near one of the worst games I've played this year, let me tell you that. It is, however, one of, if not the most underwhelming game of the year. And know that saying that pains me heavily, because a lot was riding on this game. Before I get into why though, I kinda wanna take this chance to adjust something in that tier list I made earlier this year. If you're looking at this and you're confused as to why Yakuza 4 is up here, go ahead and watch that video. I'll have a card on screen right about now. This'll be quick. All I want to do is say that I don't think Lost Judgment deserves to be in the A tier. I'm sorry. I wouldn't put it behind Yakuza 3, but I think it should go down in the B tier. I put it in A at first because I thought the story was the best in the series, and while I still think that's true, the side content in that game was just so boring. I'm sorry, there's just no excuse for it. And yeah, that's it. Yep. No other changes needed. Okay, fine. Is this what you wanted? Yes. Okay, looking back on this, that Souls shouldn't be anywhere near these other games. No explanation needed. But now, where would I place Yakuza 8 on this tier list? Stick around till the end of the video to find out. Or maybe skip ahead if you want to. I don't know, man. You do you. I'd like to start with some positives and kind of sprinkle in the problems I have in between. It's what I usually do. The new characters, incredible. The adjustments to combat, genius. Hawaii, amazing. The cutscenes, epic as hell. The story, fine. Could definitely use some work. I freaking adore all the new characters. Tomizawa and Yomai are now easily two of my favorite video game characters of all time. Special shout out to Tomizawa's voice actor, by the way. Man carried this character.
Sound good?
Whoa, slow down a second, alright, princess?
But like I said in my last Yakuza video explaining why Sayako's an insufferable jackass, card on screen by the way, I really wish Yamai was a playable character. He had all the qualities to make for an incredible party member, and the same goes for Wang To, a man who was able to handle both Kiryu and Ichiban in a fight at the same time, but ends up dying to some random ass goon. Such a waste of good character, man. Chitose I also like a lot, but did they really need to make her fall for Ichiban? Can we not have one female party member that isn't canonically infatuated with one of her protagonists, please? The closest we got is Sung-hee, but even she's constantly thirsting over Kiryu, as reasonable as that is. But that doesn't help, because I think she's boring as hell in this game. She really doesn't have much to offer. And the same goes for most of the returning party members as well. I'm convinced Sung-hee specifically though was only made playable because fans think she's hot. Listen, I love these guys, I really do, but they really have no business being a part of this game's main story. Literally cut this roster by like half and then add these two. There. Now we got one of the best cast of party members ever put into a JRPG. You might say, well, wait, that doesn't work. The party splits up halfway. And to that, I say, how about they don't do that. Most of Kiryo's side of the story was just them fucking around singing karaoke anyways. Speaking of which, I am heavily against this structure of game where you alternate between protagonists every chapter. It affects my enjoyment in both story and gameplay. You essentially get cock-blocked at the end of every chapter where things were getting heated and back to doing some mundane shit with the other party as things slowly ramp up and then it does it again. I hated this in Yakuza 0 as well, by the way. I much prefer the approach Yakuza's 4, 5 and Dead Souls took when it comes to multiple protagonists. In terms of gameplay, not only do you have to readjust your equipment at the beginning of every chapter because your best equipment is probably set on the other team you're currently not using, you also end up forgetting what your party composition looked like. This game isn't hard, sure, but the amount of times I went, alright, I got this move on Namba, or alright, Chitose could do that, I thought that was Sunghi. The amount of times I said stuff like that was too many times. 2 sets of parties sounds fine on paper, hell it even sounds cool, but in practice it's just tedious and annoying as hell. The battle system, my god, they finally fixed the problems with Yakuza's turn-based combat. I now have literally 0 complaints about the combat. It's perfect. Almost. Kinda. Okay, not really. You're going to encounter a couple of dumb glitches here and there, kinda like this. But still, considerably less so than in Yakuza 7, that's for sure. They really only had to do 2 things to make the combat more engaging. 1, give us the freedom to move around during our turn instead of our characters moving only when they feel like it. And 2, have positioning play a part in strategy, like they've done with back attacks being a thing and knockbacks actually damaging surrounding enemies. Oh, and showing area of effects too. The more information communicated to the player, the better in this case. Besides that, we also now get to choose which skills we could carry over from other job classes into our current job class, and this is brilliant. I have 0 serious complaints here. This game's combat is phenomenal. But let's get into the real meat of the issues here, because honestly, wasting great characters, I mean, it's a shame, but not the biggest deal, I guess. Split parties, not for me, but I'm sure some people like it. Let's pretend they didn't make changes to the combat. The combat in 7 was kinda dumb, but it was still fun. So why is this game so disappointing? Think about it. What do we spend most of our time doing in this game? Some whack-ass shit, that's what I'm talking about. Side content, of course. Listen. I'm sorry. Don't mean to be a party pooper here, but Substories need to change. They're getting a bit too formulaic. Most of them fall under the been there done that category. You'd think, with us being in Hawaii this time around, a new locale, we'd get to know more unique new characters in these sub-stories. But nope, the team is clearly out of ideas and they're stuck in the past. More than half of these sub-stories are callbacks or follow-ups of ones in past games that didn't even need follow-ups in the first place. Somehow, only God knows how, all of these characters wound up in Hawaii. Are you fucking kidding me? We have now fought this dumb vacuum cleaner a total of 3 times across 3 different sub-stories. Thank you, Yakuza. The few sub-stories that do actually feature new characters and plot lines are always incredibly predictable, because by now, we kinda know how these sub-stories go. If you're telling me that you didn't see the quote-unquote plot twists in these sub-stories from a mile away, stop lying to me. Also, I'm sorry, but if on top of that, this music starts playing, I'm mashing that X button. Sometimes, hell, it even feels like the sub-story quality level of writing is bleeding into Yakuza's main story. Why the fuck are we playing this dumb sub-story music in an emotional story scene, damn it? What the hell is Amon doing chilling in a main story cutscene? Wait, are we really just fighting Amon? Just fucking Amon, just out of nowhere? Amon just shows up? We had a whole ass epic final showdown with him in Yakuza 6 RGG. Does that not mean anything to you? Even the entire intro to the game felt like an elongated sub-story. Oh, and they still got these creepy ass, weird ass romance in quotations sub-stories, and somehow they made them even worse this time around. The biggest offender by far being Chitose's, the beefcake Chitose, I mean. This was by far the most disgusting, vile shit I've ever seen put into a video game. and I've played Danganronpa Altered Spare Girls. I don't even want to talk about it anymore. The few actually good sub-stories are buried underneath a sea of utter trash. Also, isn't it about time we got rid of these dumbass, broken-ass automatic chase sequences that don't even work? Look at this shit. I'm pressing the button prompts and I still end up bumping into the pedestrians. How did this same feature make it into 4 games by now without someone on the team going,
guys, this kind of sucks. Shouldn't we fix this?
listen, I hate bitching about this because this isn't a bad game. I can see the vision. It can be really fun, but it's honestly tiring at times. I can't think of a better word to describe it. I get tired playing this game. The constant distractions, the walls of dialogue, tutorial after tutorial, dumbass stories for every minigame. Look, I get it. It's Yakuza. They're just goofy like that. But you can't keep interrupting the flow of the story with some dumb shit every few seconds. If they were really just being silly, they wouldn't take up so much of my time, and they wouldn't dump this much dialogue on us. No, they want us to take these stories seriously, even when it's a story about making homeless people fight in a Pokemon tournament. Okay, the Sujimon side story. Oh my god, that was just so dumb. Just not fun in any way. I got no other way of saying it. Collecting the Sujimon was kind of fun, but the combat, the story, Oh, I see. And skip. Oh my god, these Link episodes can suck the fattest ass on the face of the planet. They just keep talking. Dodoko Island isn't exactly what I'd call fun either, but it's at least a massive upgrade from 7's business bullshit. Just so boring that was. And this is coming from someone who's majored in business administration, by the way. Playing Dodoko Island though, the whole time I'm just thinking, man, I could be playing Rune Factory right now or something instead, but I'm over here playing this Animal Crossing knockoff instead, I think. I've never played Animal Crossing. Okay, what else is there? These extra underground dungeon things. They're pretty much what people who haven't played Persona 3 think Tartarus is. Nobody thinks this is fun, RGG. Having like 5 or 6 different dungeons with the same layout, with the same boring emptiness within, with the most boring music filled to the brim with doors that slow down your progress to a crawl. If I have to listen to the Trash States podcast as I'm playing a portion of your game just so I don't fall asleep, maybe just delete that portion. And listen, some of you might be saying, the fuck? The problems you have with this game is the side content? Maybe just don't do the side content? Listen here, smartass. I don't give a shit if something is considered main or side content. If it's in the game, it should be good. If it isn't good, it's a waste of the player's time. And I'm gonna point that out and take it into account when assessing the overall game. Plus, the side content in this game isn't side content. They force you into them even when all you want to do is focus on the main story. It's not all bad though. Thankfully, Kiryu's life episodes, for one, are so good. Sure, sub cutscenes here and there, like Akiyama's for example, feel like fanfiction, but they're part of the few side story cutscenes that I don't have to hold back my urge to skip while watching. Also, if 10 years ago you came up to me and told me that Yakuza 8 will have a feature where we can reminisce about all the old games in the series at certain points in town, while the Persona 3 soundtrack plays in the background, I would have told you to go back to whatever mental asylum you came from. So, thumbs up for that. Now, one last thing we need to talk about is the ending and Kiryu's whole role in the story. Bringing back Kiryu as a playable protagonist after Yakuza 6 was a huge risk, because if you're going to retcon Yakuza 6's ending, an ending that very much spelled the end of Kiryu's story, and literally my favorite ending of any video game of all time, they better have a good reason for doing so. And honestly, when I first saw this, I had no doubt that they had some heat in store for us. Something so unbearably heart-wrenching. It made me feel stupid for ever shedding actual tears over 6's ending. But RGG said, nah, have this lame-ass romantic subplot instead. The game's actual ending? Mediocre and unsatisfying. The ending concept of Kiryu reclaiming his name doesn't really work here, because Kiryu's already reclaimed a lot of what he's lost by quote-unquote dying. He's been using the name Kiryu nonchalantly this entire game, except when he doesn't feel like it. So why would this last time he says it be any more meaningful? Someone explain this to me, please. Plus, I was ready for Kiryu to pass away in this game. Logically, it felt like this is where the story was going. But nope, looks like we got another Heihachi on our hands. They're going to find a way to bring Kiryu back in Yakuza 9. Just you wait and see. We already know the next game's going through another genre change. So fuck it, how about futuristic Kamurocho? Now everyone in the Tojo clan, which was restored thanks to the failure of the third great dissolution, have now been turned into humanoid cyborgs. And Kiryu, now using robotic strength enhancing exoskeleton, can now fight again. His power, 10 times the strength of the once renowned dragon of Dojima. What will this new genre be, you ask? Don't be a fucking idiot, it'll be a Musou game, of course. Kiryu's side of the story in this game kinda reads a bit like fanfiction, doesn't it? Almost like the script was written by a fan who was really sad about Kiryu's current state of affairs. I think it's about time I'll place this game on the tier list. Yakuza 8 is going right over here. Better than Gaiden, because the story is better, and it's got a lot more content, as questionable as some of that content is, but not better than Yakuza 0. Even though I much prefer 8's gameplay, its constant distractions make the game a burden to get through, which I can't say the same about Yakuza 0. But really, the only reason 8 is this high is because of the combat. I just really prefer turn-based battle systems. If this game had, I don't know, say Kiwami 2's battle system, it will be like a low B tier instead. Now I just want to address one more thing before ending. It's people saying that gamers these days are quote-unquote ungrateful and are always nitpicking stuff about a game instead of just appreciating that we get to play these games at all. And believe me, I really wish we could go back to just enjoying games for what they are instead of being this critical. Lately, it feels like I'm not so much playing a game as I am evaluating it. But honestly, I can't help it. The older I get and the more games I experience, the more I start comparing these experiences with each other and start thinking, okay, well, why did the developers decide to do this instead of that? That was clearly the better choice. This other game did this better than that game, so why didn't they implement that here? Back then, I never thought about the development process of a game. What are you even talking about? Games weren't made by people. They were discovered like some ancient artifacts. And because of that, even if a game sucked ass, I still enjoyed it for what it was. Not anymore though. I've seen what RGG studios are capable of, so for them to drop the ball this hard, it genuinely feels like this game wasn't planned very well. It feels like they had competent ideas for a new entry, but not enough to actually make a whole ass competent video game. It feels like the original spark or concept of Yakuza 8 wasn't someone going, I have a good idea for a game, which is how most good games are made, I imagine. Rather, it was someone going, I think it's about time we make a sequel. Which is the absolute worst way to start developing anything. But that's all I have to say. Thank you for watching. Subscribe and like the video if you enjoyed and want more gaming content just like this. And leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think down below. I'd love to take this discussion further. So until next time, guys, peace.